which is the instrument to be able to access public funds. And it has come too late. Of course, a lot of things came too late this year. For example, the ministry took too long to bring for us to file the statements with us, and the whole cycle took too long to begin. And so in normal circumstances, we would have dispensed of this bill. But now that it is coming at the point it comes, I want to support it. I am yet to look at the votes. And so when it comes to the committee of the House, I will want to see some of the things that Ruaraka people had promised, and I want to see if they have been allotted in their exact positions the way they are. Otherwise, Honorable Atandi said something, which I thought he said it in jest, but it's a very important thing, that Kenya is not equal. There are other people who are feeling public debt. They are testing public debt more than others. So according to Honorable Atandi, he also wants his people to taste this thing called
opportunity to support the appropriation bill on two grounds, Honorable Speaker. Looking at some of the items that have benefited in this appropriation, Honorable Speaker, I want to zero down on university, State Department of University. This is one sector in education that has really suffered for the period I've been in this House. The Speaker, I want to say that our universities are on their knees at the moment. And I will wish to assume that the appropriation bill, to some extent, will address some of the issues that are facing these universities. And our desire as a committee, I'm a member of the Education Committee, has been that the allocations per unit should likely be raised so that the university collection, in terms of what flows from treasury, can increase, and that then the universities will be able to address some of the major challenges they're having to do with the statutory reductions, even to do with infrastructure in our institutions. The Speaker also want to assume that I want to support this bill on the grounds that I have a number of issues in my constitutions as an individual, and maybe so many other constitutions that for the first time are getting good support from the government for infrastructural development, that these projects need to be refinanced, and that the appropriation bill, when we got the details, has addressed some of these issues. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill.
Very well. I don't see any other member desirous of contributing to debate on this appropriations bill 2022 to 2023. Therefore, in the circumstances, no option but to call upon the mover to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the members who have actually contributed, Honorable Speaker, to this very, very important motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we call upon the next administration to make sure that they have prudence in terms of how they utilize public resources, Honorable Speaker, and also beseech Parliament to also be on the lookout, to be the people's watchman and make sure that the funds that they appropriate are properly utilized through the various agencies. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply.
Well, the next would have been to put the question on it, but looks like there is a challenge. Maybe, but just maybe, we'll skip that bit. Let me reorganize the business further so that instead of going to order number 15, we go to the business appearing as order number 17, if the chairman of budget and the appropriations committee is ready. Yeah? call it out.
Order number 17, motion, consideration of the second supplementary estimates for the financial year 2021-2022.
Chairman of Budget.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the Supplementary Estimate 2 for the financial year 2021-2022, laid on the table of the House Tuesday, June 7th, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution and Standing Order 243, 1, approves an increment to the total expenditure for the financial year 2021-2022 by Kenya shilling 70 billion 847 million 524,595, being current estimates of Kenya shillings 65 billion 12,661,186, and capital estimates of Kenya shilling 5 billion 861 million 863,411 in respect in the votes as contained in the attached schedule. And 3, Honorable Speaker, approves Kenya shilling 27 billion 257 million 307 265 for the financial year 2021-2022, spent under Article 223 of the Constitution and as contained in the Schedule 2. And 3, resolves that the attached schedule forms the basis for the introduction of the second supplementary Appropriations Bill 2022. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank your good office, Honorable Speaker, and that office of the clerk for facilitating, Honorable Speaker, because when we received these appropriations, this supplementary bill number 2, Honorable Speaker, I sought your guidance, Honorable Speaker, as to how we are going to process, owing to the shortage of time that we had, Honorable Speaker, or the limited time that we had. Honorable Speaker, and you directed that the Budget and Appropriations Committee, in consultation with the chairs of the various departmental committees, will work together and make sure that we expedite this process. And I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, that you have given enough and sufficient time, Honorable Speaker, to the chairs of the various departmental committees which were affected by the supplementary budget 2, who appeared before us, some through memorandum, others in person, Honorable Speaker, and we were able to process in a short, very, very short time, Honorable Speaker, the supplementary budget 2. Honorable Speaker, the major issues that were captured in the supplementary 2, Honorable Speaker, were issues that were granted under Article 223 of the Constitution, and also seeks approval for reallocation and additional expenditure relating, Honorable Speaker, majorly to the fuel stabilization, enhanced security surveillance, the drought mitigation expenditure, and to accommodate for adjustment in projects financed by development partners, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the supplementary estimate 2 has been prepared, Honorable Speaker, at a time when the country is also facing various challenges such as drought, rising cost of basic commodities, election-related uncertainties, and high fuel prices, among others. Honorable Speaker, based, of course, on your communication, we were able to process it within a very, very short time. Honorable Speaker, without wasting a lot of time, Honorable Speaker, I just want to highlight a few of the salient things that we found in the supplementary 2. Honorable Speaker, in the process of processing the supplementary budget 2, the committee held 3 meetings, including 1 consultative meeting with the National Treasury. Further, the committee received submission from the departmental committees, Honorable Speaker, and the submissions, of course, were processed, Honorable Speaker. The outcome of these deliberations, Honorable Speaker, informed the various recommendations which are contained in this report. If approved, Honorable Speaker, by this House, the recommendations will form the basis for the passage of the second supplementary appropriations bill 2021-2022. The non-financial recommendation, Honorable Speaker, arising from the aforementioned consultative engagement, the committee recommends 1, under Article 223, that in subsequent notification of expenditure under Article 223, the National Treasury should provide detailed explanatory notes in actual programs, finance, and justification, informing each approval. They should include project name, the background, informing the request for the resource and the rationale for the approval. Honorable Speaker, the one that received was not very, very clear. Honorable Speaker, B, the reallocation and allocation and additional allocation. That from the financial year 2022-2023, the National Treasury shall ensure that all requests for reallocation and additional allocation do not exceed the 10% threshold per program as outlined in Section 43, 2A of the Public Finance Management Act and attendant regulations. 2, Honorable Speaker, that by the end of December 2022, the National Treasury should review and update the framework for the implementation of the donor-funded programs and align them to the budget cycle to enhance absorption of donor-funded development expenditure in line with the Busan Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation of 2021. Honorable Speaker, you will see that in the attached report, you see that there are a lot of deductions in relations to the donor funded. And the common answer was that there was low absorption. Honorable Speaker, is something that needs to be addressed urgently. And 5, Honorable Speaker, that in line with the PFM Act and related regulations, the National Treasury should develop and fully enforce guidelines to deter the continued spilling of pending bills and report to the House on the progress by the end of December 2022. These guidelines should include commitments without budgetary provisions, and that the pending bills at the close of any financial year should not be higher than those that were there at the commencement. Honorable Speaker, we have seen a trend where each and every year, Honorable Speaker, we have been piling, these debts, these pending bills, Honorable Speaker, and at some point, Honorable Speaker, if not addressed, they might become a national crisis. Honorable Speaker, the committee also noted that under Article 223, that Kenya shilling 27,257,307,265 was spent under Article 223 of the Constitution as outlined in the schedule that we have actually attached, Honorable Speaker. But also, the disbursement did not commensurate with the article. There are some funds that were still indicated under 223. However, the funds were not released to the entities. That the additional Kenya shilling 70,847,524,597 as contained in the schedule 1, 2, and 3 and 4, and 1, 2, and 3 forms the basis of the second supplementary bill 2022. Honorable Speaker, with that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move, and as I move, I want to thank again your office, the office of the clerk, and my committee team, the entire budget team, and also the chairs of the various teams, the various departmental committees, who, Honorable Speaker, despite the short notice, they were able to process the second supplementary. I want to move and request the Honorable Nyamita, the MP for Uriri, to second. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Uriri, Honorable Mark Nyamita. Yes, I can see it now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me also take this opportunity to thank my colleagues that we have served with in the Budget and Appropriations Committee for the last 5 years, and especially on this last supplementary too, that they have put the country first, not to be in their constituencies. It was not indeed easy, Mr. Speaker, to, how we are struggling to get even a quorum in this House. But members took their time from the constituencies to be there so that we were able to deliberate in this. I want to thank also the chairs of the various committees who found time to have quick meetings and submit to us their reports on the supplementary 2 for the last financial year. And we already had our last committee meeting, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure you will see the amount of work that the committee has done over the last 5 years in our exit report, which I'm sure my able chair will table tomorrow. Indeed, as we go into these elections, I think we go very proud that we have done justice to this country in the capacity that we served in the Budget and Appropriations Committee. And I want to thank the House also for that we put also our political differences aside, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that the country runs smoothly. And on occasions, even where we have had different opinions, we have found ways around to support this government. And as we wait for the 5th government, hopefully under the Raila Amolo Odinga, we will continue to give him that support should God grant us an opportunity to come back to this House. Without further ado, Mr. Speaker, I wish to second.
Now, members, I propose the question, which is that the House adopts a report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the Supplementary Estimates 2 for the financial year 2021-2022, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 7th of June 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution and standing under 243, 1. Approves an increment of the total expenditure for financial year 2021-2022 by Kenya shillings 70,847,524,587, being current estimates of Kenya shillings 65,12,661,186 and capital estimates of Kenya shillings 5,861,863,411 in respect to the votes as contained in the attached Schedule 1. Number 2, approves Kenya shillings 27,257,307,265 for financial year 2021-2022, spent under Article 223 of the Constitution and as contained in the attached second schedule. And 3, resolves that the attached schedules form the basis for the introduction of the second Supplementary Appropriations Bill 2022. Honourable members, it looks like what? Member for Kigumo. Honourable Wangari, you want to contribute to this? Very well. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the report of the Supplementary Appropriation 2 that the Chair of our Budget Committee has just tabled. Honorable Speaker, I also want to join my colleagues who have thanked your office for the support that the Budget Committee has continued to receive in its very demanding task of oversighting the Treasury on the area of budget appropriation. Honorable Speaker, we as members have gone through and sat with the Treasury on most of the issues regarding the supplementary estimates. A lot of them were adjustments for projects that needed to be prioritized and needed to be given support for completion. So, you have heard even some of the speakers who had risen to speak on the early appropriation bill saying that at this time, the Treasury has really reached out to ensure that there's what we can call equal distribution of resources to ensure that it reaches all the parts of this country. A lot of the constituencies and members who are in this House can attest to very many projects on areas of infrastructure that would otherwise have been left without being completed, and areas of education. And so this bill is coming in to ensure that those projects are completed, they're completed on time, they do not attract penalties that would otherwise be loaded on by the contractors for non-payment. So, Honorable Speaker, you remember like the area of the universal health care has been very dear to the Jubilee administration, and particularly His Excellency the President. And so a lot has gone into this area to ensure that hospitals like in the slum areas, you've seen like what has happened in Nairobi. A lot of hospitals, level 2 and level 3 hospitals have been completed to ensure that there is less overloading onto the referral hospital, which is Kenyatta National Hospital. So most of the issues that the supplementary bill seeks to address are areas that are so critical to our country, that are so critical to the development of the infrastructure support, upon which we believe the incoming government, which we are so hopeful will be headed by Baba the Fifth, is going to build on to the infrastructural development that the current administration has done. And most of what these supplementary bills seek to conclude. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to support with those words and to say that I'm happy when I heard a lot of the remarks that came from the floor when we were looking at the appropriation bill. Members openly saying that they have felt the work of our committee and the way we have interfaced with Treasury to ensure that projects across the country in almost every constituency are being considered for budgetary support. I'm very happy with the leadership of our chairman. Been very consultative. We are happy with the guidance that your office has continued to give us, the clerk and all the members of the budget committee who have burnt at times the midnight oil. We've sat here even in this parliament with Treasury until very late hours to ensure that all the supplementary estimates are properly evaluated, and that with the oversight role that this parliament, through the budget committee, continues to give, that it's properly discharged. And so with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support. I thank you.
Vice Chair, the Honorable Shinali.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Giving me this chance to add my voice on supplementary budget, supplementary estimates 2 for financial year 2021-22. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want, Mr. Speaker, to thank also the Budget Committee members who have taken their time out of their busy schedule to come and, Mr. Speaker, following your direction to work on supplementary 2 so that it's here very fast, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is hard times. Our country is facing many challenges, Mr. Speaker, as a result of maybe the Russia-Ukraine war, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Speaker, there is the drought medication, Mr. Speaker, that have made life of the normal Kenyan and even middle-class Kenyans a bit difficult, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this supplementary 2 that seeks to provide Kenya shillings 70 billion, 70 billion, 0.87 million, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that number 2, there is expenditure to cushion, Mr. Speaker, the rising economy in terms of fuel subsidy, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also, it has provided 10 billion to make sure that projects which has been started, Mr. Speaker, in terms of infrastructure do not go to waste in terms of getting stalled, and Mr. Speaker, have been provided that funding to make sure that they are finished, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to observe that Supplementary 2 is within the law, Mr. Speaker. It is below the 10% required, Mr. Speaker, for any supplementary to be put, to be observed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, going forward, Mr. Speaker, I also want to comment on the Article 223, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's my wish, Mr. Speaker, that Treasury observes the law, or the law is changed, Mr. Speaker, such that before funds are spent under Article 223, Mr. Speaker, they are brought here before, not after, for approval, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Article 223, if not observed, it can be misused, Mr. Speaker, because you'll find that, Mr. Speaker, Article 223 is spent on new projects, yet it is supposed to be spent on unforeseen, Mr. Speaker, activities like the rise in fuel prices, which will, in final end, affect the local, the normal products that are hinged, Mr. Speaker, on fuel, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, with that, I just want also, Mr. Speaker, to thank the committee members from departmental committees who also have made sure that their reports are they are in time, Mr. Speaker, for us to be able, as a committee, to deliberate on this bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with that, I want just to thank you for giving me this opportunity, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Leader Majority.
Yeah. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I raise to support this report of the committee and to commend the committee for really working. It's very difficult to raise members of the committee at this time of the year in this season, but at least they've been able to sit down and look at this request, especially coming so late in the day, and to look at it and bring it for regularization here. Again, the quantum may not be much, and even as varied in terms of the uses, but I'm glad at least that the government has taken seriously the sentiments of this House in terms of ameliorating the suffering of the Kenyans on fuel, because we cannot control the situation in Ukraine, which has given every oil-producing country the excuse to basically recoup what they lost during the COVID period when the petrol prices and the oil prices went to an all-time low because there was no demand. And all of a sudden, they now curtailed the supply under the guise of responding to the sanctions and the Russia-Ukraine war to recoup those losses, making fuel, totally unaffordable. Even in oil-producing countries, with Britain has its own oil, and I like looking at palm prices wherever we go. I know last time with you, Mr. Speaker, in Uganda, we knew how much as people are thinking that Ugandan oil petrol prices were lower. It was at 169 when we were at 143. When we look at the per liter price in UK now, it's close to £1.90, which is over 250 per liter. And you can see the complaint they're having over gas prices and all that, all to do with the situation they are having in Ukraine and the fact that they're not having a subsidy. So Kenyans are lucky that at least this House, through its appropriation, is able to provide this funding so that we can continue subsidizing the fuel and having the
energy at affordable prices. I think the other issue, and I'm surprised, the people who are affected, especially by drought, I would have expected most of them to be here. Of course, everyone has been talking of, we have drought, we need more money allocated to drought mitigation. Part of this funding is for that. And I hope they will read in the papers tomorrow and know that their money has been provided for them, so they can go to their constituents and say, Parliament, where they sit, has now provided money for drought mitigation, at least to ensure that people don't end up with problems. And obviously the extra security required for all the elections and all that. So by and large, I think it's a very straightforward request by Treasury, and I'm glad it's come in May or beginning of June, and not at the very end like last year. But I would like to ask that next time, perhaps we should have if we are lucky to get back into this house, I'm sure one of the things we will be looking at is putting timelines that, when things should not be ratified just before we close. Much as the law provides for that, it's not good order to almost tell people it's a fait accompli. We've done it, just approve. It would be better if we actually did a supplementary to anticipate at the point of supplementary one, that not only have we spent this, that we need Section 223, Article 223 authorization, but we are also foreseeing these new items which were not in the budget between now and the end of the financial year. So it's not just reacting. But anyway, probably things have changed. We hope we will return Treasury to what it was at some point, where you could foresee things and be more proactive than just reacting to the issues of the day. I wouldn't be surprised if we had more time to see a supplementary 3. But again, this is some of the things that we do hope we will cure in the longer term. So by and large, I believe it's a fair request, and I support the reallocations. We are also aware that obviously the donor-funded projects have not moved as they should have done. The roads projects, it gets frightening when you go and see a road that was moving very fast, and all of a sudden, the contractor is slowing down. It costs more in the longer term. It costs more in terms of the delayed benefits to the public. And I do hope that we have done this, the contractors will be sorted out, and they can now move, so that between now and the rainy period, the next rainy period, when we have this cold season, at least it's not wet, they'll be able to move most of the earthworks and repairs, and even create more employment between now and election time, so that people are busy, not just campaigning, but also earning something from the construction works with the funds now being released to the contractors. But most importantly, because this administration is about to come to an end in August, we saw what happened in 2017, especially at the county level, when the first batch of governors were replaced by a new set. Under the guise of, verification of the pending bills, some of those people who supplied in 2013 and before have never been paid up to now in some of the counties. Another group is about to be changed. I hope that before they exit with this funding, people will be able to pay up their debts, so that we don't end up with a new cycle of suppliers who will be told you cannot be paid because your governor who contracted you has now been replaced, and hence you now wait for a special audit and all that, and they will not be paid until 2027. And because these are some of the issues that we are, the fact that we have so many pending bills, that's how we are cutting down on money supply. People have supplied, people went to the banks, tender financed loans were given, they bought goods, they supplied to the counties. They've not been paid. So the banks, of course, have had to recall their loans. People auctioned whatever they had, they paid. And hence, when you hear the cries of people that there's no money is not moving around, it's partly because of the inefficiency or the unwillingness to actually liquidate some of these debts that's causing a shortage of money supply out there. But this is not also limited to the county government, and that's why I said this administration is about to now come to a natural close with the end of the second term. And we still have people who supplied NYS. And we've been talking about those suppliers for people, the ones who supplied to NYS, it was subjected to audits. They've been going there, and I know so many youths who have come to me and said, we supplied, we've been verified. And every time they are told, we are waiting for supplementary to pass. I think we have passed like 3 or 4 supplementaries, and including this one, and the people are not being paid. So I would want to urge the CS for Treasury, who has come before this House and promised that they will be paid. We've asked, the President himself has come and told us they'll be paid. I would like, between now and August, can those people actually be paid so that they are not handed over to the next administration who now say, this was not our debt, and the people who suffer forever. These are young Kenyans. These are Kenyans who actually deliver goods in good faith. And the fact that there were scandals there should not punish a bona fide supplier who did things in good faith and whose services have been certified, and they should actually be paid. Honorable Speaker, with all those work, I beg to support.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this motion for consideration of the second supplementary estimates for the financial year 2021-2022. Honorable Speaker, as you can see, the figures are 70.8 billion, which is the bridge that the CS Treasury is seeking that we approve. Honorable Speaker, what I just want to highlight maybe briefly is the issue of the subsidy in terms of the oil, the petroleum subsidy, Honorable Speaker. This has been captured very well, and Honorable Speaker, if you can recall, 2 months ago, there was a lot of outcry in terms of supply of petroleum. I'm happy that the CS Treasury, together with the President, have managed to arrest this situation, and they're managing it in terms of paying the subsidies to the suppliers. Honorable Speaker, you made a ruling in this House in around March regarding the use of Article 223 that we report to this House through the Committee on Budget a separate annexure on what constitutes the Article 223 that would have been spent. I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, that the Chairman of Budget has enforced that, and when you look at the report, the issue of Article 223 has been itemized clearly so that members can read and make a very informed opinion about it. Honorable Speaker, what I'm happy about the usage of Article 223 is that, Honorable Speaker, going forward through the standing orders which you passed here the other day, you tightened the noose. Honorable Speaker, you will not need to make a ruling so that the details of Article 223 come. Instead, the next chair for budget will be able, Honorable Speaker, to enforce the standing orders that we passed in this House so that the CS National Treasury shall not have an excuse, but shall come to report to us when he already has the details of Article 223. When you realize, Honorable Speaker, much of the money out of the 70 billion shillings, 27 billion shillings, Honorable Speaker, has already been dispersed using Article 223 and has been properly analyzed in the report to this House. That is a good thing, and therefore, Honorable Speaker, I seek that we support it so that we complete, especially the issues touching on drought, which we could not wait, but we had to disperse, the CS had to disperse the money. The issue of petroleum subsidy, we did not have to wait. It has to be passed, so that to be dispersed, so that Kenyans can live within their borders comfortably, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, what also comes out in this supplementary is that the issue touching on infrastructure, most of the issues, what has been captured in the report, Honorable Speaker, is only infrastructure touching on security, not infrastructure at large. All details of infrastructure at large, Honorable Speaker, are employed into the main budget, so that what has been spent, Honorable Speaker, is not infrastructure per se, but infrastructure supporting the security aspect of the people. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it's a good budget, and I'll be seeking that, Honorable Speaker, we fully support this budget in totality, this supplementary estimate in totality. Finally, Honorable Speaker, I just want to thank you that, Honorable Speaker, you've been very cooperative whenever we've been called upon to support the Committee on Budget, and it's a good thing, Honorable Speaker, and it's a pleasure that, Honorable Speaker, we have you as our mentor, our speaker, and a person who could guide the committee to move forward. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support.
Member for Mwingi North.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to add my voice into this motion. On the onset, I stand to support the report on budget from the Budget Committee on this supplementary budget. However, I want to identify that there are challenges that come with the supplementary budget at this hour of, or at this time of the year. And we face challenges even to understand what the ministerial departments want to do with the monies, because there was no room to have one-on-one meeting with them. And so we just try and ask our secretary to call the heads of those ministries to try and understand exactly how some of the monies were going to be spent, and especially where huge amounts of money were involved and there was no justification whether the money was going to pay for pending bills or it was going to pay for new projects. But one of the most important things that is being funded under this budget is a stabilization of the fuel prices. As my colleagues, one of my colleagues has said, when you go out of this country, you realize that the price per liter of petrol, for example, is way above 200 shillings. And Kenyans are lucky that indeed us as a parliament and government has been able to, cushion them from the market forces that determine the prices of fuel. So I think it's something that is very important for Kenyans to know that us as members of parliament are concerned about the welfare of our own citizens, because the increase in price of petroleum product will automatically lead to increase in prices of processed goods, and that will really push Kenyans to another level, even when they are already suffering. So I beg to support.
Honourable members, I thought we were getting into the end. I see the member for Masinga suddenly, after listening to the others. Proceed.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to put my my voice on this because I came late and I said before we close Parliament that I need to register my voice in the House. I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I have been dealing with a few people, and they've been asking when is the supplementary budget coming in, because there are so many pending bills with the ministries and also departments that it needs to be cleared. And I think by passing this supplementary budget, then some of the questions will be answered, and people will be able to get paid even before 30th June, the close of the year of the government. And therefore, that I thank the Department of Budget for bringing this, so that we can be able to clear some things. And also, people are saying they have no money in their pockets. We need to put money in the pockets of some suppliers who have been able to supply, and also some contractors who have been able to supply a lot of contracts to the government and also goods to the government. And then therefore it's important for them to receive what belongs to them, so that they can be able to do do their businesses as they go. And also, as we do our politics, maybe some of the contractors might also want to sponsor me for even a fuel for a day. You never know, so that they can be able to even sponsor a friend or a colleague or a constituency mate or a member of parliament or an MCA. So it's good for the country to have some kind of circulation of some finances. And therefore, Speaker, I thank you for that small moment.
Suddenly, can't understand what is happening. Member Vokarachuonyo, you've been around, but you are not indicated. Okay. Adipo. Honorable Adipo, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. In fact, something was faulty with my system here. That's why I couldn't reach you. I wish to be part of those supporting this particular supplementary estimate, because I see it touching on very important issues like fuel, and this is something that the government couldn't have really dealt with before it occurred. It is something that has come suddenly because of the war in Ukraine and Russia. So if nothing is done about fuel, even our campaign is going to be extremely expensive. And some of us may not even afford it. And in addition, we know fuel is touching on various commodities we have in the nation. Transportation and so forth are very key issues fuel is connected with. I feel if the government does something about fuel so that the price does not skyrocket, we will be controlling a number of issues even without directly going to the control of those issues. Now, drought is another thing that happens without anybody planning for it. People don't know when drought will be. I know somebody may tell me that the Met people ought to know when drought is coming, but that's another issue. If they were to know, then I would say they fail in their work very often. But as I say, that's another issue. And going to the main thing, drought results in the need to help various people if they are really faced with those kind of problems. Because of that, I feel the budget is appropriate and is very useful to this nation, especially those who may be affected by drought. And finally, the security that this supplementary budget is trying to address. Security, we know, is key for anything we are doing. Without security, we would find life very difficult. So if the supplementary estimate is trying to control this and help to cushion the problems of the problems we face with insecurity, I think that makes me feel that this particular supplementary budget is very useful and it needs the support of all of us. I am one of those supporting it, and I congratulate the Budget Committee for having considered this estimate favorably, and I also extend my congratulations to the other committees whose efforts have given rise to the estimate as we now discuss. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice on this bill.
Member for Embakasi South, hata wewe umeingia saa hizi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First, I want to start off by voicing the fact that I support the bill, the supplementary bill. It is necessary because without the fuel subsidy, our petrol would be a little bit, slightly over 200 shillings per liter, and that would in turn raise the cost of all the items that are transported by road, including diesel. So things like bread already have skyrocketed, and so is sugar and cooking oil. I also want to support this bill because it's supporting our police and security forces. So we're looking forward to be able to have officers that are better taken care of. And also the issue of drought, there is need to mitigate on the drought at this time that we're having a very challenging time, and this supplementary bill support it. So, Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
For Butula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also add my voice to this supplementary budget. Mr. Speaker, I want particularly to support the budget, and especially in the area of item 223, which has been analyzed, and the items covered in this supplementary budget. Mr. Speaker, I also want to add on the amendment we did on the standing orders that covered the item 223. I think with that we will have a lot of controls when it comes to expenditures against item 223, which in a way has been abused. I hope now with that amendment we approved recently, and then the analysis that is now required, I believe item 223 will now be properly controlled. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this supplementary budget. Thank you.
There being no other member desirous of contributing further, I call upon the mover to reply. Honorable Kanini.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank my colleagues who have contributed, Honorable Speaker, to this supplementary budget too. And Honorable Speaker, as I said when I was moving, it is now the honors of this House to make sure that the funds that we appropriate, either through the main budget or supplementary budget, is actually put to good use. And that one can only be checked through the relevant departmental committees. And I believe that as we go also to the 13th Parliament, that we will be able also to make sure that we do our rightful role. Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank you and the office for the facilitative work that you did to the committee, that despite the very short notice, we were able to process that document, and it is now here with us. With those remarks, I beg to reply. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well, honourable members, just to alert the House that in committee it had been proposed that there will be consideration of the National Assembly standing orders in committee of the whole House. That is taken out because there was no, the proposal for recommender was withdrawn. There was going to be number 3, item 3, consideration in committee of the appropriations bill, which I don't know whether, Honorable Kanini Kega, whether it has been published. The appropriations bill, it was to be considered in committee. So, has it been published? Yeah, remember we reduced the publication period from 7 days to 4 days. So, very well, then my direction is that question will be put for second reading in the morning, tomorrow, morning sitting, So, Honorable Kanini, maybe you could help us whipping your members of your committee to come and give us a quorum for that purpose, so that if need be, I don't know whether you are able to try to do committee in the morning. It can be question for second reading can be put. Being a money bill, finance-related bill, you can go to second to the committee without leave. This one does not require leave, so that in the event that you don't have quorum by the time you finish committee of the whole house, we can put the question. We can put the question. It's okay. It's okay. We can put the question in the afternoon. Then finance bill was to be considered, it's taken out. It was finished because the request for recommendo was withdrawn. And therefore, again, Honorable Kanini Kega, maybe you could discuss with your guys in the National Treasury to see to it that they can see whether they can publish the supplementary to appropriations bill. So if it is possible, if it can be read for the first time, I think in the morning, tomorrow morning or in the afternoon, reduce publication period, first reading, second reading, and committee. And in the hope that we can put the question before. Otherwise, there is a proposal by the House Business Committee that we may have to suggest a morning sitting for Thursday. Because many of these bills, if we don't succeed in putting questions, it will really be unfair to many chairs of committees who have also taken a lot of time to process them. So, well, number 18 is the motion by the Honorable Kamket again. So the Honorable Kamket, the House is now almost his. And the Honorable Abdul Somad, that's business appearing as order number 19, PIC, in the event he shows up. Unless he has deputed somebody to move the motion on his behalf. So, question on the supplementary appropriations general debate will be put in the morning. Yeah. Oh, the Honorable Abdul Somad is making his way. You mentioned and the devil appears. So anyhow, you are in the able hands of the Honorable Patrick Mariro. Next question, next order.
Order number 15, Committee of the Whole House.
Order members, we now are in the Committee of the Whole House. We shall start considering the Supreme Court Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2022.
Clauses 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31.
Honorable members, I propose a question which is at clauses 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and that one be part of the bill. Honorable members, there are no amendments to that. I therefore put the question, which is at clauses 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and that one be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I propose a question which is clause 2 be part of the bill. We have no an amendment to that. I therefore put the question that clause 2 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
I propose a question that the title be the title of the bill, no amendment to it. I therefore put the question that the title be the title of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I propose a question that clause 1 be part of the bill. We have no amendment also on that. I therefore put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, we are done with that. We are done with that. The Supreme Court Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2022. Shall go to the next one. The Traffic Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2021. Honorable members, as you indicated in the order paper, it is with the leave of the House, which reads that the leave of the House means that there being no objection by any member, either with the sympathy of the Speaker or with the support of at least 5 other members. I take it that the leave of the House, we have leave of the House to proceed with the Traffic Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2021.
Clause 3.
I propose a question which is that clause 3 be part of the bill. We have no amendment. I therefore put the question that clause 3 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 4, 5, and 6.
I propose a question which is that clauses 4, 5, and 6 be part of the bill. We have no amendments to those clauses. I therefore put the question that clauses 4, 5, and 6 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I propose a question which is that clause 2 be part of the bill. We have a deletion, a proposed deletion by the chair, transport. Where is Honorable Kosing? Majority Leader. What do you have to say on that one? Kosing is no show. Majority Leader.
Yes, Honorable Chair. On behalf of the Chair of the Departmental Committee on Transport, I beg to move that the Traffic Amendment Bill be amended as per the order paper, which is by deleting clause 2. And basically, this is for tidying up because this bill is attempting to define what's already defined in the bill. So it's a redundant provision in the bill that's now being deleted.
Honorable members, I propose a question which is that clause 2 be deleted as proposed by the majority leader. I put the question that clause 2 be deleted as proposed by the majority leader. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
I propose a question which is that the title be the title of the bill. I put the question that the title be the title of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I propose a question which is that clause 1 be part of the bill. We have no amendment. I therefore put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, we are done with the two bills. We shall now go to reporting. Mover of the bill. Shall we start with the Supreme Court?
Yes, Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Supreme Court Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2022, and its approval thereof without amendments.
Honorable members, I put the question which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Supreme Court Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2022, and its approval thereof without amendments. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Let's go to mover for the traffic amendment. Yes, Honorable. Oh, is that Honorable Kamket? I guess you're doing that for the chair. Oh, you are the mover actually.
Yes, sir.
Oh, please proceed.
Honorable Chairperson, sir, I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Traffic Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2021, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Yes, I put the question which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Traffic Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2021, and its approval thereof with amendments. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Honorable members, Mr. Speaker.
Chairperson, let's start with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court Amendment Bill.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report to the committee of the whole House that the whole House has considered the Supreme Court Amendment Bill, National Assembly number 15 of 2022, and approved the same without amendment.
Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I also request the Honorable Mwadhi to second the motion for agreement with the report of the committee of the whole House.
Honorable Mwadhi.
Honorable Speaker, I second.
Honorable members, I propose a question which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. We shall putting the question on that. Let's go to the Traffic Amendment Bill, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to report to the committee of the whole House that the whole House has considered the Traffic Amendment Bill, National Assembly number 60 of 2021, and approved the same with amendments.
Mover.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee on in the said report. I also request the Honorable Leader of Majority to second the motion of agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to second and thank the Honorable Kamket for bringing this amendment and his committee of delegated. It's a timely amendment to the NTSA, and I'm sure it will help. And this House for the support is given this bill in a record time. I second.
Honorable members, I propose a question which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Honorable members, we shall not put the question on that. Is that Honorable Senior Angwenyi asking why not? I am sure now that he has been here long enough, he knows why not. Next order.
Order number 18, motion. Report on 5 sets of draft election regulations 2022.
Chairperson, Committee on Delegated Legislation. Honorable Kamket. That is motion number 18.
Number 18. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of 5 sets of draft election-related regulations laid on the table of the House on Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 109(3) of the Elections Act 2011, resolves to reject the following. Number 1, the draft Elections Registration of Voters Amendment Regulations 2022. Number 2, the draft Elections General Amendment Regulations 2022. Number 3, the draft Elections Voter Education Amendment Regulations 2022. Number 4, the draft Elections Party Nominations and Party Lists Amendment Regulations 2022. And finally, number 5, the draft Elections Technology Amendment Regulations 2022. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Delegated, the Chairman of the IEBC forwarded a letter dated 7th of April 2022 to the Clerk of the National Assembly submitting the regulations as read above. The draft regulations, Mr. Speaker, were received on 11th April at the Speaker's office and tabled on the 14th April. Being the last day, 14th April 2022, being the last day preceding the long recess, which ran from Friday 15th April 2022 to Monday 9th May 2022, and was subsequently committed to this Committee on Delegated Legislation. Mr. Speaker, sir, Section 109(1) of the Elections Act, number 24 of 2011, confers on the Commission powers to make regulations generally for the better carrying out of the purposes and provisions of the Act. Section 109(3) of the Elections Act provides that the power to make regulations shall be exercised only after a draft of the proposed regulations has been approved by the National Assembly at least 4 months preceding a general election. The latest possible statutory timeline within which the draft regulations ought to have been approved was the 9th of April 2022, being exactly 4 months before the general election scheduled for the 9th of August 2022. Mr. Speaker, Section 15.2 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013 requires the committee to make its decision within 28 sitting days, or the regulations are deemed to have been approved by operation of the law. The House was on recess from 15th April 2022 to Monday 9th May 2022. Time stopped running during the recess, hence the committee's statutory timelines ran up to the 10th of June 2022, when the House is to adjourn for the sine die recess. Honorable Speaker, sir, Section 109(4) of the Elections Act requires the Commission to publish in the Gazette not later than 60 days before the date of the general election the regulations approved by the National Assembly under subsection 3. Hence, the latest possible date that the Commission ought to publish the regulations is the 10th day of June 2022, being 60 days from the date of the general elections for the year 2022. Mr. Speaker, Section 15.3 of the Statutory Instruments Act provides, and I quote, that despite the provisions of this Act or any other written law, where a time is prescribed for doing an act or taking a proceeding by the National Assembly relating to the handling of a statutory instrument, the National Assembly may by resolution extend that time by a period not exceeding 28 days. Mr. Speaker, sir, a summary of these regulations that the IEBC wanted to have this House pass. One of the regulations related to registration of voters, which by the time they were bringing these regulations were already out of time. The other one, Mr. Speaker, relates to general amendment regulations. The other one concerns voter education, party nomination lists, and technology, change of technology. The Honorable Speaker, sir, when the committee conferred with the IEBC, according to Section 16 of the Statutory Instruments Act, when the committee made an invitation for conferment with the IEBC, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee received a regret letter from the IEBC for various reasons. Number one, the IEBC cited various reasons in their regret to meet with the committee. One of which, Mr. Speaker, was that they were already out of time by their own admission. And Mr. Speaker, one of the other issues they raised was a budgetary constraints that they had as a commission. And stunningly, Mr. Speaker, an admission by the commission also that they were unable to undertake public participation on the draft regulations. Therefore, in determining what to do with these regulations, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee examined the same regulations in line with the Constitution, the Elections Act number 24 of 2011, the Statutory Instruments Act number 23 of 2013, the Interpretation of General Provisions Act, Cap 2, the Elections Voter Registration Regulations, and all those regulations, and observed as following, Mr. Speaker, sir. Number one, that Section 109(3) of the Elections Act provides that the power to make regulations shall be exercised only after a draft of the proposed regulations has been approved by the National Assembly, at least 4 months preceding a general election, and that IEBC is to gazette the regulations 60 days before a general election. Mr. Speaker, the committee also observed that some of the regulations do not conform to the Constitution and the Elections Act 2011. And therefore, contrary to Section 13A of the Statutory Instruments Act, are needed to be amended. Furthermore, the committee observed that most of the regulations contain drafting errors.